in today's conversations about self-creation. And I, as a possibility, at least, what I've discovered is self-creation is maybe the most important thing that we do ever. And you might, think that's crazy because, as parents or as individuals, maybe we make amazing contributions or we save some lives or we raise a great family. And those are all actually outcomes of good self creation. What do I mean by that? Well, I, the divine put the framework together, combined our bodies and spirits in, the way that is not understood by us. And we dig around in there with our explorations. But what I mean by self creation is a conscious choice about how we are in the world. I was just having an interesting discussion with a client this morning, a series of long texts and messages about the act of creating yourself. And it's founded really on just some choices that most of us don't make on purpose. We make them accidentally. What do I mean? Well, if someone asks who you are, most of the time we respond with references to our profession or references to the activities we do most of. Excuse me. Someone might say, well, I'm an accountant, or I'm an attorney, or I'm a father, or I'm a citizen of planet Earth or the universe. I might say all kinds of things. And those are activities that we do. And how we do those activities is what I'm really talking about. So if you and I have a conversation and I'm busy wishing it was done, or I'm thinking about what else I have to do today, or I'm wishing that I could sell you something, or I'm noticing what you are or aren't saying or wearing or doing, then that's who I'm being in the conversation. In the same breath, if in that conversation I'm paying complete and full attention to you, I'm loving every word, every thought, every piece of energy, and I'm beholding, I see you completely, and I'm noticing your divine gifts and who you are. And that's the stance from which I have the experience of conversation. Those are two completely different events. And the difference between them is as wide as the Grand Canyon, both for me and for you. And I don't know about you. You may have lots of places where you can be listened to like that. I didn't, and I don't think most people do. When I talk to folks that are not clients and I get to know them, which is a privilege that I have, um, after I get to know them a bit, I often ask a question, and this is the question: how many places in the world? And if it's appropriate, and we've had a bit of deep conversation, and I've gotten to know them a bit, I ask, how many places in the world do you have where you can just talk and someone will listen to you fully and completely with no judgment, no advice, and just out of love? And I would say well over 95% of the time, there's silence. And then quite often, even with men, there's tears. And the answer is zero. Now, that's a heartbreaking truth. And what's interesting is if someone has that, they answer instantly, oh, yes, I have one. And they know exactly what I mean and exactly what that feels like. So back to self-creation. Self-creation it's a word, it's a description that I give to a process of determining on purpose who I am in the world. And I find it to be the most powerful thing that we can do when I work with a client. And so this road to 50 million, you know what it is if you've seen any of the other videos. My road to 50 million started a month ago, October 14th. And in that year, from October 14th to October 14th, 2023, I'm committed to help 10 million, 50 million, sorry, 10 million was last year, 50 million people to discover and to serve with their gifts. We all know, we've heard, oh, everybody's got gifts. Well, it's true. We all came to this world with some developed gifts, some gifts that we got from our previous place where we were, or as divine gifts from the Creator. We got those, and we know it and we see it. And the happiest we can ever be is when we're using those gifts to serve, to love and bless those around us. We're really built even physiologically. So my commitment is, having discovered that in the last 15 years since my divine intervention and dramatic turnaround in 2007, 15 years ago, after 52 years of wandering around lost and depressed and struggling, I'm committed to helping 50 million people make that discovery, to discover their gifts and to choose to serve with those gifts. So that's the road to 50 million. And these videos are just about the road to get there, right? The things I'm doing every day. And it includes writing. It includes making these videos. It includes podcasting. The podcast, Your Ultimate Life. Please look that up and listen, subscribe, spread it. Obviously, podcasts are free, so it's not about business or money, but it's about this 50 million, helping people learn to love themselves and to serve with that love and to express themselves freely and to eliminate the fear that we heap on ourselves and on others by judgment that is so hurtful. Self-creation is a process. As we grow up and have experiences, we adopt a view of the world. I call it the context. And often it becomes a context straitjacket because it limits what we think we can do, what we think our place is in the world, how good we think we are, what we think's available to us. Well, I could never do that, or I can't have that. Even if we never say that out loud, we believe it, we feel it. So what if that's all nonsense? What if you can have anything you want? What if you can create whatever you want? Well, that's actually true. And we do it, but we do it accidentally because we buy into the limits that have been given to us and imposed upon us so that we've created ourselves. And that's sad because it's not necessary and it creates all this suffering. And I am familiar with it because I spent decades in self-loathing and in and out of addictions and all kinds of struggle that caused me to write Tightrope of Depression, my journey from darkness, despair, and death to light, love, and life. Talk about the first 52 years of my life and how I finally figured out, not on my own, but with a divine intervention and invitation, about the other opportunities that were available to me in life. And if you want to know the story, you can either reach out to me or you can read the book Tightrope of Depression on Amazon. I just look up my name. I got a lot of books. But anyway, since that time, I've created two things that are the most important things I do every single day. And it has led me to this place of the goal of 50 million. And I'm leaning into that with all my heart. And I'm absolutely confident, certain I'll get there. We'll get there. I say we because my wife Joy is part of my team. And I invite you to every one of these videos. I want to invite you, if you have ideas, if you have something that you can help with, or if you have something to say, or if you'd like some help, reach out. Let's talk, because that's all I'm doing this year. Nothing else. Every piece of music I write, every book I write, every video I do, every podcast I do is about how to help you discover and serve with your gifts so that you can create a life you love if you don't already have it. Maybe you're already there, and if that's you, then I want to hear from you too, because I love sharing conversation with that. And maybe you want to be a guest on the podcast and talk about what happened to you to get there, if you're living that life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Anyway, the two important things that I do is I made a conscious decision to create who I was, because for all my life, I lived believing I was broken, I was not good enough, that I could strive and never make it, that I was judged as inadequate. And I lived in that unconsciously, and that pain led to all kinds of dark places, and like it does always, insecurity. And for me, it was depression and addictions and a bunch of other things. And the truth is, you and I, we can be whatever we want. And creating a declaration, a series of statements that declare who I am. So, for example, one of the things I declare is I am forgiveness, holding no anger, bitterness, or judgment toward anyone for anything, including myself. Now, that was a declaration that for me used to never be true because I had all kinds of anger and resentment for how I was raised and all the beatings and abuse, verbal, physical, and stuff. And I had done a lot of things that were mistakes as an addict and a bad partner and failed relationships and all kinds of stuff. And so the idea of forgiveness was foreign to me. And I believed that if I forgave someone, it meant that I pretended the problem away. And none of that's true. And those discoveries I wrote in the book, Forgiveness, that I just published about 6 months ago. So that declaration, and lots of times you might go to a conference or read a book and be invited to write a set of statements. And I've had a lot of people that I talk to when I talk about this share statements that they've had or created somewhere. And here's how it usually goes. Well, I went to a conference and I created this wonderful statement thing, and then they find it, or maybe they can't find it, and they read it. Yes, I'm a powerful, capable, committed, loving husband, woman, wife, mother, creative, whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with any of those words, but it is obvious that that is a statement over there and that it doesn't represent who they truly, today, here, this minute, believe and feel to the core of every essence and every cell that they are. And so, because of that, it doesn't have much power. Oh, yeah, here it is. It's this thing over here, da 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 da, and then they read it. A living, vibrant declaration is something, it doesn't mean we're perfect, because one of the declarations on my sheet of declarations, and it's at the end, is I am that when I fail or fall in any of my declarations, I get up, fess up, clean it up, and recommit. So we're all human, but having a bold declaration of who you are, not because you're trying to impress somebody, not because someone has to agree. You don't need anyone's permission. You could declare, I am kind and I treat everyone with kindness. Okay. Then that means every conversation and every approach you have to problem solving and business and everything comes from a place of kindness and honoring people and however you define kindness. And even if you make mistakes and fail, then, in my language, get up, fess up, clean it up, and recommit. Not because you have to, but because that was a declaration that you made about yourself. So creating that set of statements and playing with it, I play with it all the time. I adjust it. And the reason I do is it is my guide to how I create myself every day. So every single day without fail, when I get up, and often before I get up, as I'm meditating, I wake up and I meditate, sometimes in bed, sometimes on the floor, sometimes in a chair, just depends on the position I want to be in and what I want to do. I'll go through the statements and I will recommit to them and I will taste them, the syllables, the words, to create myself. And that's the second of the two things, is the daily creation process. So the statement itself, or collection of statements, is the foundation. And the daily process of reviewing and committing 100% with no reservation to those things is the daily creation process. And the fun part is when I do that, then that means everything I do is inspired by, informed by, guided by those things that I have declared about myself. And I share all that with you because we create ourselves whether we mean to or not. A person who doesn't do any intentional creation is a reactive vessel. They react to phone calls, emails, traffic, people, situations without a point of reference. And who we are then is the sum of all the stuff that happened to us. Well, that's only true if you let it. All the stuff that happened to me or you, however good or bad it was, creates us if we let it. And what I'm suggesting is self-creation is, okay, all these things happen to me, good and bad, and it's a big pile or a small pile. For most people, it's a big pile. And some, it's a super big pile. And say, okay, those all things happened. Fine. Who am I? Because I said so. Because this is who I choose to be. And a lot of the time that happens unconsciously. And then, therefore, we're simply a result of whatever all those experiences piled on top of each other happen to be. Well, that's not very effective self-creation. It's kind of accidental. It happens, and then we act and react from that place. So an invitation I have to you, I have three of them. One, if you'd like to help me with my 50 million, I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like me to help you in some way, I'd love to hear from you. The third invitation is I invite you to consider self-creation. No one needs to give you permission for what you declare. Nobody has to agree. Nobody has to like it. This is a personal thing, and you pick the things that you want. And so the answer to the question, why did you declare anything, whatever it is, because I said so. It's who you want to be. So I invite you to start on that. Play with it. Because I've discovered that in that process, I find what is true for me, who I really want to be. And that helps me discover and then serve with the gifts that I have. And I promise that it will help you discover your gifts. Lots of times people say, I don't have any gifts, or I don't know what they are, that kind of language. Well, embarking on this process of making choices about who you want to be is a powerful starting point to discover the things that you are gifted with. And then the daily, no matter what, review is the activity that anchors it in your soul. And if during that process, and this happens, I'll go through this every day, no matter what, sometimes half a dozen times. And if I feel like I want to change something or add something, or I read a book or saw a video that really resonates and I want to make an adjustment because it says something better than I did ever, then it's like, cool, and I'll put it in there. And that way it becomes a living, breathing reference point that I choose to own. And that's what I mean by self-creation. If you've watched this, thank you. I invite you to participate. I invite you to love and serve with your gift. Serve those around you. Develop the gifts you have. Maybe you turn it into a business. People say you can make money with all that. I do. I write and do music and coach, and so that's a business for me. But you can use your gifts to make money or create a business if you want to. Some people do, some people don't. That's a choice. It's up to you. But find them and serve with them. Thanks for watching today. Love to you. We'll see you tomorrow. On the road to 50.